telling me it's starting. All right, there we go. Hi, everybody. Jane here. And today I am going to be speaking to J.L. Ender and doing an interview with him. He is the acquisitions editor for Havok, which is an online magazine that one of my stories will be appearing in, actually, when I post this today, and I'll be putting the link to it beneath. So I'm very excited to have him as a guest on my show, and I thought we would ask him some questions about how you too can become a writer for Havok. So, Mr. Ender, what exactly is an acquisitions editor?
Well, for us, what I or someone on my team will read all the stories submitted to us, and we then decide whether they conform to our standards and whether they're the kind of story that we can publish. For example, we read out things like poetry, essays, and like R-rated content, and we send on the stories that we think our readers will like onto one of our 5 teams of editors.
Awesome. Okay, so you're basically the first stop for every story that comes in, and you take out anything that you absolutely is sure isn't going to fly and then pass the maybes on to the next level. Is that right?
Yes, that's it exactly.
Okay. How did you get into this field? How did you get your position?
Well, I used to work for a magazine called Splickety as an associate editor. So I was an assistant of sorts for the editor-in-chief, and I mostly edited rejected stories. And then they folded around November of last year, but one of the editors there decided to go into a new direction and start Havok. So
Okay, that's awesome. So you went from one magazine to another.
yeah, I guess technically Havok
Awesome.
existed before, but they were a magazine too, and now we're more of like a online publisher where we put stories straight to a website.
Okay. Okay. Um, Tell me a little bit about Havok. You already gave me some information about the background. What kind of stuff do you publish?
We publish 5 stories a week across 5 different genres. So we have Mystery Monday, Techno Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday, Thriller Thursday, and Fantasy Friday.
Okay, and are those how long are they? Give me some ideas about, like, are you wanting novellas, novels? What are you looking for?
Flash fiction. So it's all got to be 300 to 1,000 words. As
Okay.
that's how we define flash. I know there's a few different definitions for that, where some people will let in stories like under like 3,000 words, but for us it's 3 to 700 or 3 to 1,000, 300 to 1,000.
Okay. Okay, so that's the length, and if anybody's outside of that length, they're gonna stop at your desk and not move on. Is that correct?
Generally, yeah, we'll send it
Okay.
back and say you need to shorten this up. Every once in a while, if it's like 1,001 or 1,002, that can be like that's the kind of thing we can fix in editing. So we might, if we like the story, we'll send it on to one of our editors anyway and see what they think. If they want to work with it, they can.
Okay. So you've already told us that you're looking for stories that are 300 to 1,000 words.
Mhm.
Kind of, can you give me an idea of what genre or what type of stories you're looking for?
Um, as
I
far
know
as
you have the seasons. Can you tell us
yeah,
maybe about what a season is and how that works in your magazine?
yeah. So a season lasts for about 6 months, and we'll do a different theme for each month. Like in the first 6 months of this year, we did Rebirth, where each month, like January was Rebirth was the theme, and then February was Recycle, and then we did Relocate. For that was the first 6 months, and then for the second half of the year, we're doing Stories That Sing. So it's going to be all music based. Like in July, we're publishing stories based on songs from the 1950s. And then in August, we'll be doing the 1960s and so on up until the 90s in November. And then we'll do an open one in December where you can submit a story for any song.
Okay, and when you say stories from songs,
Mhm.
what does that mean? Is that you want somebody to be listening to that song in your story, or you want us like a retelling of the song, or what exactly does that mean? What are we looking for? What are you looking for?
Basically, what we want you to do is let that song inspire a story. It actually can't because of copyright issues. You can't put very many lyrics from the song in there, but you can kind of let the song inspire the story. And they can be very loose inspiration, like it can just be like a couple words sparked this idea, or it can be like more direct and obvious. One of the stories I did was called Blue Moon, and that one is based on Frank Sinatra's Blue Moon, so it's kind of obvious. And then there's others where it's you can't tell at all what song it was based on very easily.
Okay. But you are definitely looking for very specific content with a theme. You don't want people just sending you random flash fiction they have lying around unless it's
No.
connected, correct?
Yeah, it has to have at least some like tenuous connection to one of our
Okay.
seasons. Yeah.
Thought we'd specify to make sure
Yeah.
you don't suddenly end up with a desk full of stuff you can't use, because
Right.
sometimes we get overzealous and excited about querying.
Yeah, we've gotten some of that too. We've gotten I think my favorite was someone was sending us their school essays for some reason. Which is nowhere near what we can publish.
So a reminder to authors who are querying, please read the guidelines and know what they're looking for before you send. Make it easy on my friend here, Mr. Ender.
Yeah.
My next question, I guess, would be what things besides not being what you're looking for, like the obvious, like poetry, which you mentioned, or school essays, what else will make you reject a story?
We're not very picky right now. Since we just started in January, it takes quite a bit to get us to reject your story like right at the door in acquisitions. Usually, like if it's pretty extreme, like R-rated content, we have a hard PG-13 is our guideline, so we'll reject anything that's a little too much for that. Other than that, yeah, just not being a story, basically, will be
Okay.
one of the biggest things.
So
If
you're
it's too
looking for something with
confusing,
some kind of structure, some kind of plot,
yeah.
something that you could recognize. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay,
'Cause
that's reasonable.
yeah, because we can work with you if your story just needs some work.
Okay.
That's not a deal breaker by any means, because we have a team of awesome editors that'll help get your story to where it needs to be to get published.
Okay, so you're a really good place for somebody who's kind of new, kind of scared of putting out their first story. You'll help
Yeah.
them kind of build into who they are. Maybe a good place for that first query and having editors in your magazine work with people. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you can get a feel for working with an editor, and you can even if because we edit everything even if we reject it, so you can get some feedback for your story even if it doesn't get accepted, which I think is really cool. I've never heard of any other publisher or company that does that for people.
Right.
Where
That
they,
is really amazing. And I love that because I think sometimes we don't know why we're getting rejected when we send out those queries. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, I did my best. Is this
Mhm.
not the right story? Or do I suck and not know it? You just never know.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm going to ask next the opposite of that. What kind of
Mhm.
things make you accept a story, make you be hungry, I guess, for a story?
As far as stories that make it through every hurdle, usually something that tells a complete story in 1,000 words or less. Like the ending can be jarring, but it still has to feel like an ending. We're looking for satisfying stories at a fraction of the usual size, basically.
Okay.
What-
So something that would get through is something that follows your themes and is
mhm,
a complete story and is within your word guidelines and that is content appropriate to your
yeah,
audience. Is that about right?
mhm,
Okay,
yeah,
super. Um, can you walk us through the acceptance process? If I send my story to you and you
yeah.
accept it, what happens after that?
After that, once the story is accepted by my team, it goes on to one of our 5 daily teams who they also have to decide do they want to accept it or reject it. And once accepted, we'll edit it and send it back to the author to approve the changes. And then they can suggest their own improvements based on our feedback. And then there'll be a little bit of a back and forth until everybody's happy. And then we schedule it.
Awesome. Awesome. So that sounds like as soon as you get in, you have somebody who's going to work with you. You're
Yeah.
not just going to be left out in limbo.
Mhm.
From my own experience, I will mention too, they do have you sign a contract that you have to print out and send back. So I wasn't quite prepared for that.
Mm.
I had to finagle that because I don't have a printer at home. So just be
Oh,
aware that that's a thing too.
yeah.
But in a way, that's kind of cool because that is the first time I've had you sign a contract to put a
Oh,
story out. So it is, guys, very professional. This is a real magazine. This is
yeah,
not just some people in their basement. I mean, you have to sign a contract. It's awesome. I'm
yeah,
so excited to be part of the Havok family.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
thank you, by the way, so much for coming on here.
Oh, yeah.
What other advice could you give our viewers about being published for your magazine? Is there anything we haven't touched on yet that you'd like to say or that might help people who are really, really eager to work with you guys?
Keep trying. Even if you don't make it on your first try, use our feedback, improve your craft, and try again.
Okay,
There's no limit to the number of times you can submit to us, so just keep getting that feedback.
awesome. And I think in general, the try again is good advice because
Mhm.
that tells us or helps us learn and helps us learn the process. And if you're editing every time and giving feedback every time, that is so useful to improve our craft. I really love that. I really think you guys do an amazing service for writers, and I appreciate you guys so, so much.
Well, thank you.
Well, we didn't want this interview to go super long, so I'm going to start closing us down. I did want to mention that JL Ender is also an author. I have done a wrap up of one of his books called Portal World, and he appeared on a TBR, and he's going to have his own interview or review for his book that I'm going to be doing on my channel. But besides Portal World, which all of my viewers are going to know about, what else are you working on or have you done that you might want to tell us about?
I've got an anthology. I think it might already be out by the time this video comes out. It's called Beatitudes and Woes. I have a superhero story in there. It's called The Meek Shall Inherit, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. And I will link those things below. Also, if you have a web page or anything like that, I will link that below. And Havok, I will make sure that my viewers have links to everything. Just make sure you send them to me. Was
Great.
there anything else you wanted to mention to my viewers?
Yes, Havok actually has an anthology coming out. That should
Oh,
also
nice.
be releasing probably right around the time this video comes up, around the same time as your story will be up on the Havok website, I think.
Yay, that
Mm.
makes me so excited. I will link that as well. And if you can possibly get me a review copy or send me a link to the review copy, I'll review it on my channel too. So
Okay.
we'll get to
Awesome.
talking about this.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That has been JL Ender. His links will be below. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Bye.